Long before the Roman Empire met its match in the dark, fog-shrouded forests of Germania, a far more devastating blow was struck against the greatest empire of East Asia by two sisters who refused to bow. In the year 40 of the Common Era, the Han Dynasty was an undisputed global superpower, its administrative machinery stretching across thousands of miles of conquered territory, from the deserts of Central Asia to the shores of the South China Sea. Imperial officials in the capital of Luoyang believed that the southern borderlands of Jiaoqi, located in the fertile, waterlogged basin of the Red River Delta in modern-day northern Vietnam, were fully pacified and safely under the emperor's iron heel. They believed the local populations were slowly but surely being integrated into the imperial fold, adopting Chinese laws, customs, and taxes. They were completely wrong. Within a matter of weeks, a lightning rebellion led not by seasoned generals, royal princes, or male aristocrats, but by two provincial sisters, would completely dismantle the imperial administration, capture dozens of heavily fortified strongholds, and send the Han governor fleeing for his life in a humiliating disguise. How did two women from a wet rice farming culture manage to organize, inspire, and execute a highly coordinated military campaign that shook the foundations of the Han court? To understand this extraordinary feat, we must look past the mythologies of later centuries and reconstruct a world where women held a kind of power that the patriarchal Han Dynasty could neither comprehend nor tolerate. This is not merely a story of military defiance. It is a window into a vanished ancient society that chose total war over the erasure of its cultural identity. As we unpack this ancient conflict, we find ourselves asking, how did the Han Empire, with its vast armies and sophisticated bureaucracy, allow itself to be completely blindsided by a mobilization of this scale? The answer lies in a profound cultural misunderstanding that would change the course of East Asian history forever. The Han rulers viewed the southern borderlands as a wild, untamed frontier populated by barbarians who lacked order, but they failed to realize that beneath the surface of this riverine world lay a highly organized, deeply proud civilization ready to fight to the death for its autonomy. In an era when the voices of women were systematically silenced across most of the ancient world, these two sisters carved their names into the historical record with fire and steel. Their rebellion was not a minor border skirmish, but a seismic event that forced a superpower to re-evaluate its entire imperial strategy in the south. To comprehend the explosive nature of the rebellion, we must first step into the vibrant, water-dominated world of the Lac Viet. Long before the arrival of Chinese administrators, the Red River Delta was home to a sophisticated Bronze Age culture, famously known to archaeologists as the Dong Sun culture. This was an agricultural society defined by the cultivation of wet rice, tidal farming, and an intimate, spiritual connection to the region's vast river systems. Politically and socially, the Lac Viet were organized around hereditary clans led by Lac lords, chieftains who managed local land, resolved disputes, and led their people in times of conflict. Crucially, this society operated on bilateral kinship lines, where lineage and inheritance were traced through both mothers and fathers. Women held significant economic and political power. They could inherit land, manage estates, and lead communities. This high social status was symbolized by the magnificent, intricately cast bronze drums, which served as sacred instruments of political legitimacy, communication, and ritual. These drums, adorned with images of waterbirds, deer, and longboats, were beaten to summon warriors to battle and to communicate across vast distances. When the Han Dynasty expanded southward, they did not just bring taxes and soldiers. They brought a rigid, highly patriarchal Confucian ideology. To the Han court, a society where women held authority and land was an offense to the cosmic order, a state of chaos that required civilizing. The Han appointed a new prefect named Su Ding, known in Vietnamese records as Tu Dinh. Su Ding was a man of immense greed and cruelty, who viewed the southern provinces not as a region to govern, but as a personal treasury to be plundered. He aggressively raised taxes, monopolized essential trade in salt and iron, and attempted to forcibly replace Lac Viet customs with Han marriage laws and patriarchal structures. By restricting iron, The Han sought to disarm the local population, while their new tax policies threatened to bankrupt the Lac lords, pushing the entire society to the brink of ruin. This clash of civilizations was not just about territory. It was a fundamental struggle over the way of life, family structure, and spiritual identity of the Lac Viet people. The Lac Viet did not see themselves as subjects of a distant emperor, but as a sovereign people with their own deep-rooted connection to the land and the spirits of their ancestors. The Han attempt to impose a foreign way of life was met not just with political resistance, but with a deep spiritual rejection that united all levels of society. For decades, the Lac lords had tolerated a degree of Han influence, but Su Ding's aggressive reforms went too far. He targeted the very fabric of their social order, demanding that women surrender their traditional rights and land ownership to their husbands. This direct assault on the bilateral kinship system threatened to dissolve the power of the local clans, setting the stage for an inevitable explosion of resistance. That spark was struck in the district of Me Linh. Here lived two sisters, Trung Trac and Trung Ni, daughters of the local Lac lord. Raised in the traditions of the military aristocracy, they were trained in martial arts, physical endurance, and the art of leadership. Trung Trac, the elder sister, married Thai Soc, the son of the neighboring Lac lord of Chu Dien. This was far more than a personal union. It was a powerful political alliance that united two of the most influential clans in the Red River Delta, creating a formidable bloc of local resistance. Prefect Su Ding saw this alliance as an existential threat to Han colonial rule. In a calculated attempt to crush the growing spirit of defiance before it could organize, Su Ding ordered the arrest and execution of Thi Soc. It was a public act of state terror designed to break the will of the Lac aristocracy and force them into submission, but Su Ding completely misjudged the woman he had just widowed. Instead of retreating into quiet mourning or submitting to imperial authority, Trung Trac channeled her grief into a campaign of absolute resistance. Alongside her sister Trung Ni, she began mobilizing the Lac lords from across the region, utilizing the sacred bronze drums to summon warriors to their cause. They forged alliances, gathered weapons, and rallied thousands of farmers who had grown weary of Han oppression. At the Hat River, Trung Trac stood before a massive assembly of her people and took a sacred oath. According to historical memory, she swore to avenge her country, restore the ancient lineage of the Hung kings, avenge her husband's death, and carry out her duties to the end. The rebellion was no longer a localized conspiracy. It was a war for survival. The sisters did not stand alone. They were joined by a network of local leaders, many of whom were also women, reflecting the deep-seated gender equality of the Lac Viet culture. These female commanders, such as La Chan and Phung Thi Chin, brought their own regional forces, creating a united front that spanned the entire delta. The speed with which this coalition came together stunned the Han administration, which had assumed the local populations were too fragmented to mount a unified defense. The Hat River became the birthplace of a new national consciousness, where individual clans put aside their rivalries to unite under a single banner. Trung Trac's leadership proved that she was not just a grieving widow seeking revenge, but a visionary statesman capable of forging a nation out of fragmented tribes. By framing the rebellion as a restoration of the legendary Hung kings, Trung Trac tapped into a deep well of collective memory and cultural pride. She transformed a defensive military alliance into a sacred crusade to reclaim their homeland from foreign occupiers. In the spring of the year 40, the storm broke. The Trung Sisters did not wage a slow, grinding guerrilla war. They launched a sudden, coordinated offensive that caught the Han garrisons completely off guard. At the vanguard of their forces, the sisters rode atop massive war elephants, towering symbols of power and terror that trampled through the defensive lines of the Han occupiers. The psychological impact of these armored beasts, combined with the fierce determination of the Lac warriors, shattered the morale of the imperial troops. The Han soldiers, accustomed to fighting horse-riding nomads on the northern steppes, had no tactical answer for giant elephants charging through the muddy marshes of the delta. The rebellion swept through the Red River Delta like wildfire. From Me Linh, the sisters led their forces to Lui Lao, the administrative headquarters of the Han prefecture. The local populations rose up in support, opening city gates and joining the ranks of the rebel army. In a matter of weeks, 65 citadels and outposts fell to the sisters' forces. Prefect Su Ding, terrified by the rapid collapse of his defenses, shaved his hair, disguised himself as a commoner, and fled northward in disgrace to save his life. The Han administrative machine in the south was completely obliterated. For the first time in over a century, the people of the Red River Delta were free from imperial rule. Trac was proclaimed queen, establishing her court at Me Linh. She abolished the hated Han taxes, restored the traditional rights of the Lac lords, and sought to rebuild an independent kingdom rooted in the ancient traditions of her ancestors. Her coronation was a direct rejection of Han imperial legitimacy. As queen, she did not merely rule, she actively worked to dismantle the colonial structures that had been imposed on her people, proving that her leadership was as effective in peace as it was in war. The fall of Louis Lao marked the end of the first period of Chinese domination, a stunning proof of concept that the Han Empire was not invincible. For a brief, glorious moment, the Red River Delta breathed the air of freedom, proving that a determined people could successfully challenge the greatest power on Earth. The speed and success of the campaign sent shockwaves all the way to the Han capital in Luoyang. Emperor Guangwu was forced to confront a humiliating reality. A major province of his empire had been lost to an army led by 2 women. To the imperial court, this was not just a political crisis, but a cosmological disaster that threatened to undermine the very concept of the mandate of heaven. But the Han Dynasty, though humiliated, was far from defeated. Emperor Guangwu could not allow such a direct challenge to his imperial authority to stand, as it threatened to inspire rebellions across other provinces. In the year 41, the emperor mobilized a massive, battle-hardened army and placed it under the command of Ma Yuan, a veteran general renowned for his ruthless efficiency and tactical brilliance. Ma Yuan was given the title of Wave-Quelling General and commanded to crush the southern rebellion at all costs. The campaign that followed was brutal and relentless. Ma Yuan marched his troops through difficult, malaria-ridden terrain, utilizing a massive fleet of supply ships to maintain his logistics. The Lac forces, though brave and deeply committed, lacked the iron discipline, heavy armor, and unified command structure of the veteran Han legions. In the year 42, the 2 armies clashed in a series of fierce engagements, culminating in the Battle of Lang Bak. Despite putting up a desperate resistance, the sisters' forces were gradually pushed back by Ma Yuan's superior tactics and relentless pressure. The final stand took place at Cam Khe. Realizing that defeat was inevitable and refusing to suffer the humiliation of capture and execution by the Han, the Trung sisters chose to end their lives on their own terms. Vietnamese tradition records that they threw themselves into the Hat River, drowning to preserve their honor. Han sources, by contrast, claim they were captured and beheaded, their heads sent to the capital at Luoyang as trophies of imperial victory. Regardless of their physical end, their sacrifice sealed their transition from living leaders into immortal legends. Ma Yuan's victory was followed by a brutal campaign of pacification. He confiscated the sacred bronze drums of the Lac lords, melting them down to cast a giant bronze pillar that marked the southern boundary of the Han Empire, symbolizing the complete subjugation of the region. Yet, even as the bronze pillar was raised, the memory of the sisters' defiance was already taking root in the hearts of the people. Ma Yuan's campaign was a masterclass in ancient warfare, but it also revealed the sheer desperation of the Han court to reassert control. The brutal measures he employed, from mass executions to the destruction of cultural symbols, showed how deeply the empire had been shaken by the sisters' rebellion. The tragic end of the Trung sisters was not a defeat in the eyes of their descendants. It was a transition into the spiritual realm. They became the guardians of the land, their spirits believed to watch over the Red River Delta, ready to aid future generations in their times of greatest need. The rebellion of the Trung sisters was short-lived, but its impact reverberated through 2 millennia of Vietnamese history. It was a powerful demonstration of the resilience of indigenous Southeast Asian culture in the face of forced assimilation. The fact that 2 women could lead a successful national uprising highlights the unique social structure of the early Lac Viet. where leadership and authority were not the exclusive domains of men. This stood in stark contrast to the Confucian order that would eventually dominate East Asia. By rising against the Han, the Trung Sisters established a powerful precedent that Vietnam was a distinct land with its own identity, laws, and right to self-determination. They became the ultimate symbols of patriotic resistance, invoked by generations of revolutionaries, poets, and leaders who fought against subsequent foreign occupations. Their legacy proved that even the most powerful empires are vulnerable when they attempt to erase the identity and dignity of a free people. They showed that history is not just written by the conquerors, but also by those who dare to stand against them, even when the odds are overwhelmingly stacked against survival. In later centuries, as Vietnam adopted more patriarchal Confucian norms, the memory of the Trung Sisters remained a powerful counter-narrative, reminding the nation that its very existence was founded on the courage of women. They served as a constant reminder that when the nation was in its darkest hour, it was women who stepped forward to save it. This legacy of female leadership would be repeated throughout Vietnamese history, from Lady Trio in the 3rd century to the female fighters of the modern era. Their story is a powerful reminder that the struggle for independence is often a multi-generational relay race, where the sacrifices of the past lay the foundation for the victories of the future. The Trung Sisters may have lost the war, but they won the battle for the soul of their nation. Scholars have long debated the exact nature of the Sisters' rebellion, with some viewing it as a conservative defense of aristocratic privileges, and others as a popular nationalist uprising. What is undeniable, however, is the enduring power of their image. They transformed the concept of resistance from a political calculation into a moral imperative, shaping the collective consciousness of a nation that would spend the next 1,000 years fighting for its independence. Today, temples dedicated to the Trung Sisters stand all across Vietnam, where they are revered not just as historical figures, but as national deities who protect the land. Their story challenges us to rethink our understanding of the ancient world. Why is it that the great female military leaders of history are so often treated as anomalies, rather than as reflections of the societies that produced them? If you were faced with a choice between submitting to an unstoppable empire or risking everything for the freedom of your people, which path would you choose? If you want to explore more incredible, untold stories of resistance and culture from Vietnamese history, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who loves history. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the Trung Sisters' legacy. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next chapter of our journey through the past. As we look back on the legacy of these two remarkable women, we are reminded that history is not just a collection of dates and battles, but a living tapestry of human courage. The Trung Sisters' story is a testament to the power of the human spirit to defy the impossible, a story that continues to inspire people around the world today. As we walk through the temples dedicated to their memory, we can still feel the echoes of their defiance in the beating of the drums and the smoke of the incense. Their story is a timeless reminder that the flame of freedom, once lit, can never be fully extinguished by any empire. Their legacy invites us to look beyond the Eurocentric narratives of ancient history and appreciate the rich, complex civilizations of Southeast Asia that stood firm against the greatest empires of their time. By sharing their story, we keep their memory alive and honor the countless unsung heroes who fought for their freedom. What other forgotten chapters of history do you think deserve to be told? Let us start a conversation in the comments below, and let us continue to explore the past together.